Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Jumpstart. My name is Jason Meyer, and this morning we're going to get prepped for next month's class, where we're going to spend the month finishing up work that you started or helping you get start on a piece that's outside of the scope of class. You're welcome to bring anything from class to this month if you want to see how to carry it forward, or you can bring your outside work in and we'll see if we can't push you toward a finish. So, with that in mind, we were going to get started this week as a jump start on next month's class. So Susan's here. Good morning, Susan. We're going to be starting with Susan. She's got a little rabbit that's gotten into some trouble. So we'll see if we can help this little guy out. And let's see. And she meant to say a higher key piece. Okay, good to know. Good to know. I also have a couple other quick announcements. There's been some adjustments to the schedule this month. Morning Jumpstart, the program you're seeing right now, will go live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8 a.m. as usual. We have a Masterworks here on YouTube in the evenings. That's being cut from 2 days a week to 1 day a week. So that happened just last night. So every Monday at 7 o'clock, you can see us live here on YouTube with Masterworks. Last night, we usually look at paintings or drawings of masters. Last night we looked at some studio spaces and places painters paint and things like that. So it's a little bit different. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. What else? Then Sketch Club is now Sunday and Tuesday nights as always, but there'll be no Thursday. And we're going to change the format for right now to two 15-minute sketches on Sunday and two 15-minute sketches on Tuesday. We'll see how that goes for a little while. And last but not least, I wanted to tell you a lot of the students have been getting Procreate themselves for the iPad. And if you're one of those people, we're going to get that to there in just a second. But for right now, I wanted to show you, we got an introduction to Procreate. It's going to be Wednesdays at 7. We're going to go from 7 to 8. It'll be a half hour of exploring a new topic, introducing, asking questions. And then the last half hour, we're just going to sketch together. You can do whatever you want, but a chance to practice what we just learned, so that I'll be around too if you get stuck or have a question. And that way you'll learn something, and then you also have a chance to implement it and try it out. And for about half an hour when I'm available to do that. So that'll all be online. Check that out. So now that we've got all the announcements out of the way, what we're going to do is start with Susan. She's got a little rabbit, and then we're going to look at Tom has got some a robin painting from a few years ago. So those will be the two pieces we look at today, and since there's not a high number of pieces today, we'll see if we can't have some good discussions. And if not, guess what? You might get off a little early and into the studio sooner than you anticipated. All right, so are you guys all ready to go? All jazzed up? Let's see if we can get that bunny rabbit back. There we go. Actually, that's not where we want to be. That's the complete wrong screen. This is where we want you. There we go. There we go. So she says she wants a high key painting for this, and to the best of my knowledge, this is the first time attempting glass, or I know that's one of the things that we're studying here. So we'll be going to be looking at that. I'm going to take a minute here and so one of the first things, once you have your basics down, right, you got that in your back pocket, when you're really ready to start your own piece and do your own thing, there's a couple of things you need to do before you even get started on the painting. One is to have an idea how you want it to look when it's finished. Right? If you don't have an idea of how you want it to look, it's really impossible to ever bring it to a finish in a satisfactory way. Okay, so we want to have an idea of what we want, and that's going to include basically the abstract movement of the eye across the canvas. Okay, so we're going to talk about how we might move through the canvas, and then once we know how we want to move through the canvas, that's going to literally tell us how we need to paint every piece of this canvas. All right, because we're going to paint every piece of this canvas to move the viewer through like we like them. So let's see. All right, Sue made it. Good morning, Sue. Good to see you. Good to see you. If you came in late, make sure to check out. We've got a Procreate class. We're going to start Wednesday nights at 7. Not this Wednesday, but a week from this Wednesday that'll start. It'll go for 4 weeks. And Mr. Tom, the robins will be up after the rabbit. So it's you and Susan this morning. So I hope you can stick around for that. If not, the recording will be available. All right, my friends, let us see what we can get into here. Okay, so just want to know something. So, obviously, this is the big deal. And so, sometimes that's relatively easy. All right, what's the big deal? But then the question is, how to get there and how to come off of it, right? Or our movement. Our movement. So where are we going to start, right? Typically the viewer starts at the bottom of the canvas because that implies near. Whereas if we move up the canvas, we're going to get further away, at least as long as we're on a flat surface. When we go to air, right, like this up here is closer to us and this is further away. So that goes back in space like that. And this goes back in space like that too. Just showing you that it goes back, right? And so if you want to call it your horizon line or whatever, for us it's about, well, the end of the table is there. The horizon line is going to be your perspective, which may or may not end up with the table. But we're not going to go into all of that. We haven't been talking, and that is a big subject all on its own. So, but with that idea of perspective, one thing that I notice, and especially with so little in the painting, the less you have in the painting, the more right you have to have everything else, if I can say more right, if that makes sense, right? Because in painting, we're not looking for an absolute truth, but we want it to read true. Okay? In other words, we don't have to paint every square inch. The drawing doesn't have to be, millimeter perfect. As long as when the viewer looks at the painting, it reads like the table's sitting down flat, things are sitting on the table, right? The perspective, those sorts of things. So in that vein, what becomes very important in this painting are these ellipses. Okay, so let's just think about this for a minute. So we're standing up above this, right? How do I know? Because I'm seeing the top of his head and not the bottom, right? And we're seeing into the glass. So that means that we're above this. So as things get closer and closer to us, right, what's going to happen with these circles, like if we're looking directly down on that glass, it's going to look like that. And then as we step back from it, it goes more to an oval, right? And the further it goes back into space, the flatter that's going to get. Okay, so this is a big exaggeration on my 3 here. But that's just, so this is actually like looking straight down on top. And generally you don't have that and that perspective in the same one. But with those things in mind, what that's going to mean, and again, at first it's a little tricky to get these set up, but once you get a hang of it and you get a hang of it's just got to read true, this stuff gets a lot easier. Okay, so for instance, if this is at this level and this is at that level, well then this would be a bigger circle, and this up here is going to be a tighter ellipse, right? And then back here it's going to be tighter than that, which it looks like you've got. And then this is going to be tighter like that. And then as we go back here, it'll get even tighter. Okay, so those are just some drawing things that will make a big deal, right? And the bottom too will be less than that. But realize that we can't do the top of the glass and the bottom of the glass the same. Okay, because that's quite a bit of distance in this particular setup. Okay. So pay a little more attention to that. And I think that's going to do us a lot of good. And then one of the other things that I've noticed, and I don't know at what stage you are in this painting, but that makes this look funky, is you've got to take into account what's behind the glass. In other words, this is different than that. So this part of the glass is going to be different than that part of the glass. I hope, does that make sense? So up here, you know, basically here and above, and sometimes glass may go down a little bit or the table may come up. It's not going to be straight across, right? There's a little bit of distortion. But within that, basically here and above will be gray, is what we're looking through to. And then here and below is going to be our brown. So why does that matter? Well, then our tabletop goes, our glass goes from there to, you know, down here it might be picking up, I don't have my values right, but instead of that blue-gray, it's going to be kind of a brown-gray. Does that make sense? And then the same over down here is there's going to be a bit, right? We're going to be able to see through to some of that. Can you feel that difference there? That little thing? And I sense that you've done some of that. I just don't feel like it's quite enough. So, you know, maybe this whole thing kind of runs warm like that. And then on this side, as it lightens up a little bit, it might be a little bit more like that down there. Okay. Does that make sense? And that light can kind of use to highlight. So I think between the ellipses and then taking a little more careful account of kind of what's behind. Right, to me, pretty quickly that seems to that feels a bit better to me. Feels a bit better to me, you know, even up in here. And then that way we can cleanly separate seeing through the glass and the highlight of the glass, if that makes sense. Right, then if you're seeing the bunny here, what you can do is you can take the bunny, just a little darker grayer, right? And these things would probably be a little obscured through there, something like that. Yeah, and you got it, you got it. But what I would do is kind of obscure things through the glass, right? So here what's happening is that we're just seeing right through the glass to the shadow side of the bunny. Right, so that's what you're going to see on that front end. And then over here, again, we may have, you know, you may see through. It won't be so, right? There needs to be a certain level of distortion below the glass level and a bit of clarity above the glass level. Okay. See, man, you guys are getting so good, it's getting harder and harder and harder to critique you. It's getting harder and harder and harder to help. Okay, but let's go back to our lessons now. How are we doing on time? We're good. So I'm going to spend another 5 or 10 minutes on this one. And now that we've got some of those little, I'd say, technical things out of the way, let's go back to our 4 values. And I see your dark value, and I'm wondering, how could we make that a better shape? Right? How might we make this a better shape? Whoop. Try that again. All right, so obviously, right, the light's coming in this direction. All right, we got light on this side and then shadow on the other side. So what we want is we just want, you've done pretty good here, definite silhouette. All right, the stop there. And you're going to know anatomy better than I do on these animals, so I'm not correcting anatomy, don't get that wrong. Right? You do the drawing, but you can look at me for the values and the ideas. And then here too, let that, however, that cast shadow can be very descriptive of what it's falling on, if that's happening like that. Right? Let that cast shadow right there show that. There coming, so it would be under, and then go ahead and show that that goes under too. Okay, and then, and you know, it may be a different color fur or something, that's fine. I just don't have the time. That'll be a cast shadow wherever that comes from. And again, you probably have it more right than I do. And I'd indicate a little bit of a shadow over here. Again, just to give some strength to that leg. And then I think what I would do is I'd come up here and we could just change basically from red to green. And I would at least cast a little bit of shadow onto our olive. It can be up like that, and then I'd let that dark. So you see how just getting that little extension out there locked that shape? Before this extension, we had this. And that can slide in, that can slide up and down, move around, right? If this started moving and this moving, they would just slide right past one another. But if you have this and then you do that, now this piece and the piece you just draw are locked together. They can't slide because they're locked together, right? And so on these dark shapes, we want to figure out ways to kind of lock them to make them stable. And that is one method. Man, you're not making this easy. Man, you're not making this easy. So the same thing here, I think, you know, make sure we get some definite light and dark there. And you have it, but again, this is basically your foreground. So you're going to have to let that carry. And then the other thing I would probably do right there, now I may take this back in a minute, let's see it. But I'm going to at least try to get a nice little highlight here. Right? And in addition to that, you've already got it there. And I don't know olives that well, but there is some color out down there at the end, right? If there's some way you could get a high end of that color, a little red or something there, I think that would go a long way. The other thing, we need to slow the pace of this thing down. So, you know, they're going to be kind of little shadows like this, but there's nothing to say right that something couldn't be in the background. Throwing a shadow. Right across, and that can just interrupt and slow things down a little bit. Right? And you could even have a little okay, so now I feel like we have a little bit of foreground there. Again, you don't have to do this. Is just some ideas. And then if we weaken this, okay, and then how are we doing? Okay, 6 minutes. Let's see. Hey, there's Miss Cindy. She's taking care of auto repairs, getting new tires, taking care of YouTube. It's like having a shadow coming in from the side, but lacked confidence. How did I miss that? So you're perfect. Yeah, you can do it. You can do it. And at first, even if it, like right now, it looks a bit goofy, doesn't it? It looks just a bit goofy. Well, with some soft edges and things, that'll help. But the other thing that can do is it gives us excuses to throw, right, to make these glasses a little bit more interesting. And then I would come back, right, and try to definitely set up a little more richness here in front, right, and separate like before shadow and after shadow. Okay, so again, that'll bring forward, and even on that rabbit, you could have a little more richer color. And then in the back, I feel like some of our background is a little bit too light. And I know some of this is you're concentrating so hard on messing with glass. I get it, it ain't easy. It ain't easy. A little light and a little warm. Right, I'm not so sure about this because we're competing with each other. I think that's part of what's going on here. Those last two glasses, in a sense, are competing with the rabbit. And, you know, maybe it's just a matter of degree. Maybe it's just a matter of degree. Let's see. See, as I darken that side shadow and the rabbit, I can still darken down a bit and can still stand out. And that's one of the reasons that you need your shadow to be dark enough and strong enough, is because we're going to need some elbow room in these other places. Yeah, and so just as we adjust those values, to me, this is starting to feel better. I do feel like this is a little heavy on the front end, and so I'm wondering what could we do to give some sort of point of interest, you know, back here somewhere. Somewhere. All right, it's almost like we need one more element or something. It's like we need one more element, but what would that be? Right? Not to go outside the frame, but within the frame. I don't know if an olives will do. You know, I don't know that we want another rabbit because that's going to introduce two, and we'd rather have three than one or three, not two. Well, that's something to think about. I may have to leave that on you, but I hope you see. I feel like we could use a little bit. You know, and I'm wondering if we shouldn't just take this element, let the middle here be a little quieter, right? Because we've got all this action going, then we've got that action going. This is nice and quiet now, but what if we just moved those olives over there? I think that might take care of it. Okay, and then you've already have it. I'm going to say one more thing and then we're going to move on. But the other part of this, as you're adjusting the table and everything, you want to make sure that this guy, right, comes out as enough. And he can still have color and everything, right? But make sure he wins. Make sure he wins, and then you need to make sure, oops, we might have gone too light there. And why do I say that? Because the other part of this is I'm probably going to think about a glowing highlight off of that. Right? Try to get a gleam or something going there. And if we were really fancy, all right, we get our little bitty brushes out. And since I'm on a computer, this is going to be really easy for me. It's going to be real easy for me. I'll go to luminance. I'll get a flare. Right? And this is just to show you the point. Just show you the point. You see that flare? I'll do it big so you can see what happens. You know, it's not an exact. Do you see that? So it's not a little hard edge. So can we get that small enough? All right, a little flare or something. That white. We can do that, right? We can do that. Now I don't know what I had on my. I don't know what I had before. I don't know what I had. I've been trying to update my brushes a little bit, and they're a bit of a mess at this point. Yeah, and then maybe let that white highlight on the glass go right there. Boom. I like that. I like that. Why? Because this is your main guy, so you're bringing up backup, right? The main guy's always got an entourage. He's not walking around by himself, right? You always know where he's at. There's a group of fans. There's all his friends. He's got security, and there's limos. The paparazzi are there, right? So wherever your big deal is, make sure the world knows it's a big deal, right? By bringing some friends and tracers along. And then I think at this point, right, if you wanted to, you might do a little bit there too, and then it won't be this bright. And then if those olives, I wonder, it's a little bit small, right? You could have, you know, that stick with those olives even coming, touching the canvas, something like that. What do you think? What do you think? Would that work out? Would that work out? We got rid of those. Something like that. And now it feels like you almost have to have one. Oops, that's supposed to be an olive. That's supposed to be an olive. Almost like you really need one right there too, doesn't it? You know, and you could always literally attach it to, even though it's way back there, it can still attach to that stirring stick, right? And that's how we're going to expand those light dark shapes. Okay, I think you're doing fantastic. I hope you got some good information on that. Let's see. Confidence. We're here for confidence. It's also a helpful thing. You're welcome. Adding a martini. Oh yeah, or a martini shaker or something. The idea. I hesitate a little bit on a martini shaker because if I'm right, there's silver and there's a lot, but metal can take on whatever it's there. So man, glass and metal, you're having woo. You don't lack confidence. You don't lack confidence. But yeah, whatever it is, think about it. But you also need to consider, okay, what purpose is it serving? Right? And that can be a little confusing at first, but after a while, you can, ooh, that's a good idea, but that's kind of a middle ground idea. Or that's an idea, but you know, for the background, I don't know if that would work. That kind of things. And you'll get more and more on it. So great job, Susan. Great job. Yes, yes, yes. Fun, can't wait. That's what I want. That's what I want. I want you all inspired, ready to get back to it. All right, so we'll do a little before and after, and then we're going to look at Tom's. Look at a couple of robins. So, you know, making sure that dark, boom, because the dark really is the structure. Okay, now hold on a second. So you said you wanted to do this high key. Okay, sometimes I forget. So all that's going to mean is that this won't be as heavy. But you still need it all connected. Let's see, that's the one thing you said, that's the one thing I didn't get to. How about that? So what if that shadow was more like that? Can you see that's quite a bit lighter? The key, again, is having it flat. Right? As long that flatness is going to give it the power. And again, we're messing up the drawing here a little bit. But you can bring all of these on, but remember, number 4 value is number 4 value. And even on the table, right? So that may be a little bit light for the table. But I could do, right? We could even come up a little bit more, couldn't we? Yeah, so what if I wanted, that's my shadow on the table, right? So you see it's not so dark, but again, we need it big enough. And then if you wanted to push things up, you could push them up. So it's just where you put those relationships, but you always still have to have your darkest and make sure that provides the structure. All right, great job. Great job, great jobs. Right on. Good, yeah, I hope as we work on some of your work, these things, these ideas we've been talking about, you can see how we integrate them. I know this week off, everybody's got their schedules all, Izzy just went back to school, and then they got conference week this week, and the next week spring break, and it's just a constantly changing schedule. So all good, it'll be here. All right, should we go to some robins? Should we see all of Tom's girlfriends? Tom. There we go. There's Tom's girlfriends. So, Tom's really glad Susan showed up because he's always been into the animals, the deer, the birds. Right? And this is one Tom and I had talked about a few years ago. So this will be fun seeing it now and then seeing how much further we can take it today than we could back then. So let's see, who's this big-headed guy over here? See if we can get him out of the way. Maybe I can. There we go. This out of the way. So what do we got going on so far? Do we see 1, 2, 3? Got a nice triangle there. Yeah, so we've got some good things happening here. And what else have we done? Well, I've noticed that we've got dark trees behind our lights so that our lights show up there. And we have gray trees on our gray light here. So what do you think that's going to do? It's going to cause a little less commotion. All right? And the other thing that was to be considered here was the amount of orange to the amount of orange. And then our berries. Okay, so when you start, you see red berries. You see, let's just call it orange. orange robin chest, right? You see blue or gray wings. As an artist, that's really not the best way to think about color. Not how we're dealing with it anyway. We don't want to think as these things as one thing and two things. We want to think about everything in this family as a run, as a single thing, right? So it may start off a little darker and more orange, and then it may climb to a brighter, lighter red, right? And it may go, we might climax on the red as intensity, less on the orange, and then, you know, go back down. But we want to see it as a movement, as a part of a whole concept. Okay? So, should I just paint on this one and talk as I go? Paint on this one. So we want to see those movements. And then the other thing I want you to be aware of is, what do we have here? So we should be thinking about 3 colors, right? That would be one, our reds and our oranges. Our greens would be our second. So we've got red, orange as our first color. We've got green as another color. And then we have gray or blue. Okay? Let's just say blue-gray. And blue-gray because the blue and the gray is not what we want to focus on. Right? The green's not necessarily what we focus on. The red-orange is what this painting is about in terms of color. So that means the green and the blue-gray are there as a supporting our red and our orange. Okay, so with those things in mind, what kind of trouble could Tom get into? I couldn't imagine Tom getting in any trouble. Well, Tom doesn't seem like that kind of guy. Tom doesn't seem like that kind of guy. So the question is where to start? Where to start, where to start, where to start? You are welcome, Susan. You're very, very welcome. Yes, it is. It's very good. Yeah, Tom's got his house set up pretty well, and he knows where the wildlife are, and if I remember right, this was just outside one of his windows. Just outside one of these windows. So... backgrounds, yeah, backgrounds are important. You know, without the backgrounds, it doesn't work. So before I get working, I'd kind of like to show that. So let's say, hey, look, he did a good job, but you know, if this was my painting, I would come back to that tree and, you know, why not like say, hey, you know, I'm a green tree. Make this a brighter green. Make this a brighter green. And I hope you can see almost instantly as I'm doing this, making this tree brighter, that robin's getting weaker. Right? The area of focus is getting bigger, but the robin and that is getting weaker. Okay, it takes a little while to learn to see that, but that is what we're up to. All right, so what I want to do here is I want to go a little darker, richer here for the top of our sky and a little warmer. And just for the sake of kind of dropping this value. Drop that value because I want to drop any of the attention going there. I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. All right, bigger because the next lay down's got to be smaller. So if we make that from there to there. And can you see how now that sky and those trees have completely gone away? Now it's possible I've overshot. It's possible. But let's see. Give me a second. Give me a second. So then the gradation's so important. Right? What looks completely too light or too dark, if you let it gradate a little bit, you might find that it's all right. And you might find that it's not all right. I don't know. I don't know. Let us see. Let's see. So as a reminder, we're going to start not this Wednesday, a week from Wednesday, Wednesday evening, 7 o'clock, an introduction to Procreate. So if you've been on Procreate, but you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do, we're going to have 4 Wednesdays for you. 7 to 7:30, we're going to introduce topics and answer any questions you have. And then from 7:30 to 8, we're all going to sketch together. So you can try out what we just learned. And if you have any questions, then you got a chance to, I'll be right there to answer any questions or clear up any confusion. Okay, so that's Wednesdays for 4 weeks, starting a week from tomorrow, I believe. So that is up live on the school site. So Introduction to Procreate's the name of the course. You can go ahead and sign up there. If you have any trouble, you can give Cindy a message, leave us a message through here on our website. And Cindy's really good about taking care of everybody. Okay, so that top's still a little bit too dark. But you can see it's kind of a push and pull. A little bit of a push and pull. Okay, so I feel we probably could get away with a little bit like that. Now I'm going to come back to this. And let's see, can I just drop that down 10, maybe 15%? Gray it off. Let's see. So I'm looking. I like that. That seems like it may be just slightly dark. Okay. So I wanted to try to make these trees back here even go away more. So what I did was I started with the sky value there, and I wanted to see how close I could get and still separate them. Right, so these are now my back trees, and look at what a beautiful silhouette That'll make right against all these darks up front. How are we doing on? Okay, got 10 minutes. All right, so let's see. Ooh, and that would be cool if we could get that robin leg going right between there. That would really stand out there. And maybe that there too. Okay, and then so I think that value might be okay there, but what I want to do is what if there was a little bit of light on some of this? Right, what if a little bit of light, and then if the shadow so that makes the shadow of the robin disappear, so that's too dark. Or I've got to make the robin shadow darker. Those are my two options. Okay, so this is better. So now I've got light and shadow on this tree back here. Okay, so that adds a little bit of form. And then 7 minutes. Woo! Woo, woo, woo. 7 minutes. The color is looking really good. I think what I want to do first, in case we run out of time, is really stress the importance of structure and how that's provided by the shadow. Right, so just that background back there and then a bit darker here. Talked about that leg going through there. But if I can separate definitely the shadow from the background, do you see the impact that that has? I'll get a little clumsy here because we're running out of time, but and then see if we can't get a little bit more of some curve rather than such a straight line. See if we can't get a few little curves or something on there. Okay, that will help. And then I'm going to keep this the same, but look, even on the robins, I think if we went darker, that could really help us out. I mean, you don't have to. You could do a little more colorful there. But we want the power, and some of that power is in separating. Okay? Separating, and then if we are going to go orange here like that. See, I think the orange we may be a little bit richer, like that. And then what that's going to do is allow us to go a bit lighter with these reds here. Right, and again, that red and that orange is one movement. I want to get them close enough so that they're not disharmonious, right? They're not fighting against one another. They're not fighting against one another. Okay, so what we want to think about here, ladies and gentlemen, is our bird, our tree limb up front, and this, right? Our lights have got to be number 1. Our darks have got to be number 4, right? And then everything, and I mean everything, everything, and I mean everything back there has to be between these two in order for those robins to be foreground and the rest to be background. And that includes the sky. That includes the sky. Okay, so let's get some before and after, and then I think it's going to be about time to send you guys on your way. Okay, so this is really nice, but what I did is I just pushed the separation a little bit. Right, push a little separation, and if you have a little time too where you can finesse that shadow rather than just plop it down like I did, you're going to get more, and then we're going to have some highlights on those berries and on the birds like you have. Boom. It's $1 million painting, buddy. $1 million painting. So great job. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for Morning Sketch Club this morning. Oh, nice. Nice, yeah. I'm glad you saw that. The gradation introduced. Yeah, and so like those shadow, even on this foreground tree, if I was able to gradate that shadow off gradually, right, not to the thing, but it's not going to look as clumsy as it will, right, or some soft and open edges here and there. But again, the main thing is to say, hey, this painting is about these robins and these red berries, right? Look at this color party we have going on. And then, you know, I don't care if it's the height of spring. And those are yellow-green trees and bright back there. If our concept is about the birds, then we're going to be sacrificing those background colors so that the birds can take center stage. Okay, let's see, where are we at? Where are we at? There we are. So thank you guys so much. Susan, Tom, wonderful, informative as always. If you guys get a chance or have something you want to see, get that in for tomorrow. We'll have Morning Jump Start tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday morning. Tonight at 7 will be our last sketch club for the week on Facebook, Meyer Studio. We're going to do 2 15 minutes. And guess what? We're doing those robins you just saw in Tom's paintings. And it's going to be a rare thing tonight. We're going to have the color photos because in the black and white, the orange of the robin and the green trees behind them are the same value. So it doesn't stand out. So the color in this one. But when you get there, you know what you got to do. The trees are gray. The robin is light and dark. All there is to it. All right, everybody. You guys are great. Have a wonderful day. And we'll see you guys next time. Much love to all of you. Bye-bye. Hi, Wendy. Bye, Wendy. See you, everybody.